All right. Hi guys. I hope you guys are having good weather on your end. So I'm Vanessa from the Sunday morning branch. Good evening, Kumar, and good evening, Keith. Thank you
Good
for
evening,
joining
Vanessa.
us today with
Pleasure,
Gardening
great
to the
pleasure.
Soul.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So we are going to be talking about everything to do with gardening, really. And I mean, as far as I know, the both of you have lovely gardens, and you are very passionate about gardening and growing and greenery. So I'm
Look at
going
our
to start
t-shirts.
off.
We are wearing green t-shirts. So see, says it all.
I'm not. I'm wearing black, but but yeah, I do have a small garden myself. So I'm hoping that even for me, I can get tips from the both of you today for like good gardening tips. Um, so
We
let's
don't give
start off
bad
with you.
gardening tips, do we, Kate?
Yeah. One can always be
I
hopeful,
certainly
but
hope you have good gardening tips.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
All right, Kumar, I'm going to start off with you. Tell me how you got into gardening. I mean, we know you like, the Bonsua Diaries and all of that. I've always been a fan of the Bonsua Diaries. I read it every week religiously. But gardening, I didn't know about this about you up until like very recently. How did you get into gardening and why? And how do you do it? Like, are you always
My
doing it?
my gardening goes back to 1972, 3, 4, 5. This was
Mm,
that era. There was no food to eat. It was the Grow More Food campaign, and
mm,
you couldn't buy food, you couldn't get bread, you couldn't get cloth. So we grew our own food.
mm.
I grew batala. This was in a house in Keralapana. Batala,
Okay.
manioka, you name it. We grew everything. Home garden. My father and mother helped us. They taught us actually, and we had a huge produce of garden produce because there was no food to buy in the market out of necessity.
Okay. So that is how you got into gardening. So you're
Yes.
basically saying that you got it from your parents. You saw them grow, and then that is how you got the influence, is
Yes,
it?
my father was a great gardener actually, so he
Okay.
taught us a lot of stuff. I mean, for example, the huge garden, there has to be a banana, entire whatever the canna that falls down,
Okay.
prematurely.
Okay.
We cut
Right.
it, we dig a hole, we put it into the ground, we
Okay.
line the ground with kehel color, and you put
Mm-hmm.
dung, you smoke the
hash.
banana, the whole thing for it to ripen underground, covered with the woven khajan. I can actually even weave
Okay.
khajan to make houses. I
Okay.
can weave khajan.
All
So
right. Okay.
this is a
Lovely.
very hands-on thing.
Kumar, was this in Colombo as well, or this was out
This
of
was
Colombo?
in Sibal Avenue, Kirulapana in Colombo 5. You wouldn't
Wow, this
believe
is
it.
like right in the middle of Colombo. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Keith, about you, how did you get into gardening? I know you have a lovely garden right now and you grow all sorts of vegetables and fruit and flowering plants, and there's a bunch of biodiversity there if I saw your pictures correctly. How did you get into it?
See, I've always like Kumar. We are also children of the 70s, so we
Hmm.
also got into the whole gardening in the house kind of thing. But I must say that my parents also were heavily into gardening. They love to keep maintain a good garden, and my mother hardly went to the kitchen, so she preferred to be in the garden. And like Kumar said, chilies, bandaka, all those basic easy to grow stuff, which then ended up on the kitchen table, was always there. Today, I also have a wife who's a totally avid gardener, and I have now become reduced to a laborer status, where I do the planting and harvesting and picking those fruit kind of thing on the ladder. But she's the main person behind it.
Okay.
But so garden has been very much part of our whole uh, life kind of thing.
Okay.
See, as
I
children, we had time on our hands. We didn't run to tuition classes. I'm talking so right, Keith. We were
Exactly.
taught at home. Parents taught us, and we managed. We did fail our examinations. We were quite okay actually. So a lot of time after school, coming home, spending watching the sunset, watching the crows coming back to roost. Watching fireflies, grasshoppers, stuff like that. It was very
Exactly.
nature childhoods. Yeah.
hmm,
True.
okay. Um, So I'm just gonna, I mean, this is just out of curiosity, to be honest, because I know, like, I like gardening. I know some of my friends like gardening. And I think my curiosity and the people in my generation, our curiosity for gardening has really come during the pandemic season also. Because we were stuck at home and our social life is reduced to zero. But do you feel like when you consider the gap between from then to now, do you feel like the importance that's given to having your own little garden patch has reduced with the people in our country, or do you feel like it's there? Or
Okay.
Yeah, see, one of the biggest problems we have today is that everybody is either in an apartment or in a 6 perch, 10 perch kind of block. I'm sure
yeah,
Kumar was talking about Siebel Avenue. He's talking about the good old days when you probably had a 30, 40 perch garden, right?
mm,
There's
Yeah.
enough room. You had your wet pit, dry pits in the garden. There was no garbage collection so much. You
yeah,
burnt your stuff in the garden. So you had your
yeah,
ash, you had your pohora. You didn't have to go
mm,
and buy compost from Water's Edge plant sale, right? All that was there in the garden. So what has happened today is, with this whole people moving into the smaller house units, they have kind of ditched the whole gardening aspect of it.
right,
Those who were interested in it did maintain gardening on a rooftop or on a balcony and stuff like that. You can
yeah,
do it, and some of us who have been blessed with a little bigger garden, we have still continued to do those kind of things because we kind of, like we were talking at the beginning, we loved it.
mm,
It was there in our
okay,
blood.
okay.
So that's what I think is the biggest problem as to why this whole garden aspect has suddenly got a new lift is thanks to the pandemic and this whole push towards. So there are good things about the pandemic also. Everything is not bad.
Yes, yes, for sure, absolutely. And speaking of about good things about the pandemic, I think initially when I had a conversation with the both of you, and I think one thing that I really appreciated and one thing I was very grateful to was also here that the both of you said that gardening sort of brings you peace, and it is something that you do for your soul as well, which I think is really true. So let's start with Kumar. Can you maybe just tell us how gardening has sort of helped you maintain your inner peace and how it sort of contributes to your mental and emotional well-being?
You talk about connectivity. You wear a new
Mm,
dress, you connect with your dress. You wear a new perfume, you connect with your perfume. You
mm,
connect with a book. You also
mm.
connect with your pets, with the dog. You got a puppy at home, right? So you
Yeah.
connect with your puppy. You connect
Yes.
with plants also. Okay? People talk to
Mm,
plants. I know
mm.
Yasmin Khader. She talks to plants, and they respond actually. So yes,
Yes.
so Keith grows on the garden on the ground. I
Mm,
grow in a garden on a terrace. So my space is the next door apartment, which is not there. The space is the space of a two-bedroomed apartment, which is now still a concrete slab. So I
mm.
grew like it's all on my Instagram and Facebook, by the way, last year.
Yeah.
So yes, it helped me to preserve my sanity. I was locked up in this house for like months. I was to wake up early morning and see the birds. The birds start at 5 o'clock. There's one chorus lead that comes, and he's on top of the roof. He screeches. All the other birds come, and actually, I could hear a choir of birds early morning, and they talk to each other. They respond to each other. As soon as the sun comes out and out, they all go away. And then all these plants. Yes, I talk to my plants. Mad people don't talk to plants. We all talk to plants, by the way. You touch your plants, you hold your plants, you a pet, you talk to a pet, you hug a pet. There's that bonding that happens. So you actually can bond with plants. This is not. I'm not a crazy old man hallucinating. I'm an old man, yes, but I'm not hallucinating. But yes, to me it was an escape. I sat on the terrace early morning, late at night, and I just watched. I watched the clouds. You get clouds called cirrus clouds. You get clouds called cumulus clouds. You see the palette of the sky changing colors, day into dusk into night. It's so much out there, and plants. Actually, it was my oasis in COVID. I'm still not cuckoo.
Okay. All right. Lovely. And Keith,
Yeah, see,
how does
yeah,
gardening help you with your inner peace and your zen, so to speak?
see, two things. One is that, like Kumar said, a garden is a great de-stressor.
Mm,
When you get into the
yes.
garden, you go into nature. From the sounds, from, like Kumar said, when you wake up in the morning, from the bird sounds, right? You just they wake you up. So you don't need an alarm clock. That's your best kind of alarm clock. And you start identifying the different bird sounds. You can say which one is the tailor bird, the smallest but the loudest. It goes on like that. You also have, I'm blessed to have bees as well. So you have the bees, you have squirrels, and Kumar, you'll agree with me, the squirrel is basically a rat with a good PR manager, right?
And he's a menace. He gets into your house and eats your clothes, eats your curtains also. Eats
But
your cupboards also.
why is he sweet? Because he has a good PR manager. He's a rat, basically.
Yeah. So I have rats and squirrels on my terrace. Yes, I feed them also.
The frogs and snails also are there.
Yeah, exactly.
Frogs are inside the house.
Yeah, remember snails. Right. Yeah, remember snails are nature's pruner.
Yes, that is true.
It's thanks to the snails that they prune, and nature is a well-balanced thing until man pokes his finger there. Nature has built a plant to allow the snail to eat, at the same time end up with the produce as well. Right? Yes. When you go and kill the snail or take the slug out of the equation, then you have other problems.
Yes. So just Keaton, why do you throw all those snails into your neighbor's gardens?
Thank God I have no neighbors.
I'm kidding.
You're supposed to, but you're supposed to.
But because we are also told that we must share and share alike. So when you have abundance of snails, you give some to your neighbors. You don't keep it all to yourself.
Right. So it's about sharing is caring, I suppose.
Exactly. See, also, if you look at planting, either you are planting a seed, which is giving birth to new life, or you plant a stick in the ground like a Murunga branch, and you see the first shoots coming out like a new baby's new tooth. So all those, when you see those things, it makes you feel good. See, also a good friend of mine and a fellow environmentalist, she told me that nature can give you joy in two ways. You can plant a rose and see the rose blooming and receive the joy for yourself. Or you can plant something like a sepalika, or what you call night jasmine. You may probably never see the plants blooming, the flowers blooming, because that's in the night. But you can rest assured that you are giving joy to the night feeders.
Okay. Yes.
And that gives you joy that you're giving joy to somebody else. So all these are very, I like to use the word Zen. All are very heavy Zen stuff and not really suitable conversation maybe for a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. But still, in truth, like Kumar said, you get a lot of peace, a lot of satisfaction, a lot of happiness in this whole garden. When you see your bell pepper coming out, and you see it growing.
If I may interrupt you, talking of bell peppers. Once in my bougainvillea pot, I found a beautiful bell pepper, red, green, and yellow, and I never planted them. Birds had come and they had dropped the droppings in the pot, had taken root, and I had bell peppers growing. I mean, out of this world, unplanned for.
I had the same thing. We have a kilo guava tree in our garden. We never planted it. It came from bat droppings.
It happened. It just happened.
Yeah. So bats are also good for you, unless of course you eat them. But otherwise, bats
or
also
they.
Exactly. Yes. The rabies or COVID, I suppose. But I think this is a really interesting point, because I suppose even though a lot of us don't realize it, from what the both of you have just said, we're kind of supporting tiny little ecosystems within our own gardens and in our own backyards that contribute to all of this environment. I mean, we talk a lot about deforestation and this and that, but sometimes perhaps we can do a little bit in our own way to contribute towards it, right?
This is the balance of nature that Keith spoke about just now, balancing everything, and nature's got its own balance.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
See, another thing that you'll see in the garden today, if you do not use fertilizer, you use organic stuff, you will find what is called a well-balanced garden. And with a well-balanced garden comes one key indicator to know whether you are having a balanced garden are the dragonflies and the fireflies. Right? If you go out to my garden in the evening now, you'll see a host of fireflies there, at least 20-24 fireflies. Right?
Yeah.
Now that's something. Kumar, we grew up catching those fellows that put in jam bottles and little lanterns.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But here we have
the Tanakolepettas.
Exactly.
The grasshopper.
Yeah. I must also say that we have a bunch of comments coming in. I'm just going to go through them before we move on. If you live around Karambo, Nirosh says, if you live around Karambo, what would be the best crop that you could grow? Or the few plants we should plant for food. So, Keith and Kumar, any
Mike,
ideas on that?
Keith, you take it first.
Yeah. Say if it's a small garden or it's a balcony, I would say just
Mm,
with the pots, go with the chilies. A
mm.
bandaka plant can give you a lot of bandaka. A single plant can
Okay,
give you a lot of fruit. So bandaka
right.
would be and bandaka grows very fast. So
Okay.
for when you first start, you also don't have a thing called patience, right? Right? So
Just like me.
yeah, waiting for 6 weeks for something to come may not work. So the bandaka comes
Yeah.
much faster. So that
Okay.
helps.
To
Okay.
that list, you can also add gotukola, which
Mm.
I grow in rainwater gutters. You can also add spinach, niviti. Niviti grows very
Yeah,
fast.
very
You
fast.
get the
That's right.
Yeah.
gus niviti and the val niviti. They are
Mm.
both. I mean, they are very lush. So a lot of
Mm.
water, and yeah, these are 4 items that you can actually have a harvest literally overnight in Colombo in an
Yeah.
apartment.
And I'll tell you
Lovely.
another thing with your niviti.
Mm.
Take 2 slices of bread, take 3 or 4 leaves of niviti, put a slice of cheese, put it in the toaster, and you got a fantastic sandwich for dinner.
Yes.
Just
Wow,
wash
I
the
didn't
leaves.
know
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. You don't need to
Yeah.
boil the
Yeah.
leaves,
This is
nothing.
something I do as well with
Yeah.
my Niviti creeper. And then Ramesh Dumel says, Keith, tell them about the Batu. So I hope you have like a Batu plantation at home that he's
Well, I have,
referring to.
knowing Ramesh Tibel, I'm sure he has something else in mind. But I'll talk about
Okay,
the tit batu.
we're gonna leave that then.
No, but we'll have a tit batu. The tit batu is also,
Okay.
we find it most of the time we find it in the Thai curries, right?
Hmm.
The tit batu plant is
Yes.
very easy to grow. Take the
Mm,
tit batu, drop it
mm,
into a good old Karola curry, and you got a
mm.
Hmm.
fantastic combination there. So the tit batu
Right.
also absorbs the chili from the curry, and it's a
Okay.
beautiful, flavorful dish. So
It
there you
is a
go,
Lovely.
bit
Ramesh. Take out the
acidic,
tit batu.
but there is beauty in the acidity of the timbatu.
True.
Right. Okay. I suppose because a lot of us, I mean, I don't know, this is personally for me, goes, shopping in the supermarkets, Tibbatu isn't something you come across very commonly anymore. If you go
True.
to the Podikades, of course, you do find it, but at supermarkets, you don't anymore. So I think it's
Yeah.
a great idea to grow it at home. And then we have a whole bunch of others talking about little animals and squirrels coming into their garden and agreeing with you guys that it does contribute to the ecosystem. And yeah, and some Perry Emanuel says we've taken a residence and there's a small box in the bedroom, and I think there's like birds nesting there. It's lovely. Okay, so
Super.
guys, keep sending your questions and your comments. If you would like to have any tips on gardening from Kumar and Keith, please send them in, and we will answer them as we go along in the session. Okay.
I have another little anecdote, Vanessa, just to
Yes. Yes.
butt in there.
Yeah.
You all have heard of the Konde Kurulla or the red-vented bulbul,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, you know how I discovered this with my own eyes. We used to have
Hmm.
kochi plants, Kuma, in the garden, and I caught this rascal eating kochi chilies, the
The
bright
bird
red
was
kochi
eating the
chilies,
food
the
to chili.
bird,
Okay. All right.
the bird.
Okay.
So that is why the guy is called the red-vented bulbul.
Hmm.
Oh, really?
Oh.
From
I never knew that.
not really.
Okay, this one of. Sorry.
Okay, this was supposed to be an anecdote. I just got it. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a tube-like moment for me. But
Uh,
okay.
Talking to all those of you who would live in apartments with little spaces up in the sky, you can grow. For example, I grow in commodes, I grow in bidets, I grow in wash basins, I grow in wheelbarrows, I grow in rainwater gutters. You can even grow in those old Wellington boots. You just need a container. It's
Hmm.
how creative you are. So let's break all the norms and get creative with the containers, and we find it's amazing actually.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
tip for all you young people out there who have inherited your great grandmother's teapot, which is probably a hideous old thing, but because it's a family heirloom, you can't get rid of it. So don't throw it away. Use it as a pot. Plant a little thing in it. I trust me, your great grandmother will appreciate it. So
Okay.
all those old
Lovely.
porcelain stuff.
Yes, of course. And this what you when Kumar just said. it brought me to the next point that I actually really wanted to talk about. And this comes from personal experience also. Even though I love gardening, I found myself caught in this trap of, okay, so I need to garden, so I now need to go and buy a pot from somewhere. I need to go and buy like coir and compost and all this stuff. But then, as of recent, when I started doing my research, I figured out you can grow in shoes and in, like,
Yes,
as
you
you
can.
said, teapots and everything. And then when I spoke to the both of you, I realized you actually do this, and this is what real sustainable gardening looks like. So the both of you, Kumar and Keith, please tell us about how we can go about it, what mediums we can use to grow, and that, because a lot of people think you need a lot of money to do gardening, and you really don't. So yeah, please.
Keith, you first talk about the ground gardening, and then I'll talk
Okay.
about the balcony
So
gardening.
we have started something recently which we call, actually the term is a well-known term called companion gardening. Under the shade of our mango trees or the jumbo tree or something like that, what we've done is we've taken this small, the concrete block cuddle.
Yeah.
The concrete block. Okay. We just put a circle around the tree, and so we have a raised amount about 8 inches of like a container. Empty the compost leaves, empty some compost earth, and into that shade we plant chili, we plant the aloe vera, we plant our turmeric, we plant our ginger. So what happens is the ginger and turmeric also need shade. It needs loose earth. Right? So you have that loose earth, it grows fantastically there. And on the outer edge, you plant your chilies and your bell peppers, which need a bit of sunlight as well. But the mango tree and the jumbo trees, because they are bigger and shadier, they give this lovely shade to all the plants and help them withstand this intense heat we have at the moment. That's companion gardening. Both thrive the same way.
We spoke of rats and squirrels and birds. If ever you see an earthworm in a pot or on the ground, don't kill him. Let him be there, because he's the one who burrows
Yeah.
into the pot and gives soil air. You need soil water and soil air. The soil water has got to drain, and the soil air, it's what gives it the texture and the porous effect for there to be airplay and for the water to drain. Am I right, Keith?
Correct.
Okay, lovely. That's great. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I think that both of you told me about how you guys use hydroponics, and then also like little things like shoes and even socks. I think, Kumar, you told me about using a sock where the roots kept growing down. Can you please maybe share some of those experiences also? And then Keith, maybe you can talk about some of yours as well. Yeah.
So when I was very, very small, I lived in Vellavat at Lily Avenue in Vellavat, and there were some neighbors, green fingers to kill, and they used to grow it in old socks, not stockings, but socks, old buckets. They used to go to the hardware shop, and they used to get all these old stuff, old kettles. We had those aluminium kettles, forget whistling kettles, and those you just make a hole with a nail, and you have a container, as Keith was saying. So all those, I mean, just use your imagination, and you can find an amazing array of utensils, of pots in which you can grow whatever you want to grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All things. I mean, you can just use even a couple of boards of wood stacked together and fill up with earth, and then you have a ready-made bed there. You know? Lots of
There's
things.
a lovely site called Pinterest. It's on my app in my phone. Pinterest has got an amazing range of stuff you can do. So just check it out. I mean, the sky's the limit there. Beautiful stuff.
Okay. Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to throw in a couple of questions here that our viewers have just asked. Ifham Nizam is asking us your thoughts on the home gardening concept. Kumar, anything you have to say?
So home gardening, yes, you can. I think yes, also because of COVID now. So find the time. It is a de-stressor. You can't leave your house. You need to relax. So home gardening, yes. Balcony gardening, yes. Even a very small space, you can do an amazing. See, I have lots of friends in Paris who live in little apartments the size of shoe boxes. Their little balconies are like, say, 6 feet by 4 feet. And the stuff they do on that. You get vertical gardening also. So, for example, on a balcony, you have a wall. okay, this wall here. So you hang your pots one underneath the other. Is it drip irrigation? I don't know. So when you water the top pot here, the water drains into pot number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and you save on water. So it's just nice commonsensical stuff that you can do.
Yeah. You don't need large spaces like Kumar was saying. Even on a wall, you just take a bit of gutter, hang it on the wall. There, feed little earth. You can plant little small things like you can do your gotu-kola and stuff like that. So don't try to grow a mango tree on a balcony. I mean, those will be a little too much. But you can also do narang in a pot on the balcony, and the narang once it starts coming out. Why are oranges symbolic with weddings and stuff like that? Because it's always about new growth. It's always having blooms, the orange blossoms. Yeah. So you have a narang tree. Now we have 3 narangs. The produce that comes, it's massive.
Pot or ground?
It's in the ground. But even on a pot, Kumar, you would have seen in places like Singapore, you would have seen those during the Chinese New Year.
Yes.
So I have seen pots here. Where a large pot on the balcony, you have quite a decent narang tree.
Keith?
Yeah.
Sorry, Keith. I think I'm gonna send this question your way. So Samantha DS Vijayaratna asks, my garden has very little sun. What veggies can I grow? I know you have some veggies in your garden. So you have any advice for her?
Veggies in the garden that has very little sun. So chilies. Okay, not chilies. If you don't have much sun, do your turmerics and stuff like that. You can get your ginger and turmerics going very well. And in this day and age, with this whole lack of the imports and this whole demand for turmeric, you can have your little crop there. I got about that much from you can see there, that much from just 6 plants.
All right.
Be careful. So I also would say do a bit of Googling. Right? Google is a fantastic thing. When there are a lot of sites and a lot of WhatsApp groups and a lot of Instagram groups where fellow people like us are there, putting up their experiences, talking about their problems, asking questions. And none of these things that we have done today, we got it right the first time. We tried it, we put the wrong plant down, put it in the wrong soil, lost that plant, somebody ate it, all those things happen. But then when you start talking to people, what do you do about black spots on a chili plant? What do you do about gray leaves on a mango tree? And there are the answers that are out there on Google. So go into those things. When you get out to those little Instagram groups, you will find that people are willing to share a lot and also come out there with problems and questions. So then you can put up your answer. I had this problem 6 months ago, and this is what I did to it to solve it.
Talking to Samantha DS Vijayaratna, Sam, I know the geography of your garden very well. So what you could also do is to trim a few of those branches and let in pockets of sunlight to come down. So you have your shade 80%, and little areas, it's all dependent on how you manage the branches up there. You can get sun into various parts of the garden, and then you have to balance both basically.
True. Especially if you have things like mango trees, remember to prune the branches, especially after the fruits come. Because one thing is all your nutrition of the tree will go into the new branches. So you keep and for fruits to grow, they need sunlight streaming through. So if you have a thick foliage canopy, you might not have a good crop of mangoes.
Okay. All right. This next question is from Nirosh Amat again, and I'm gonna send it both your ways actually, because I think a combined perspective would be best. He's asking, where can we get seeds to plant all these in Colombo, and any idea about the cost?
Okay, there is one place that I go to quite often down Kirimandal Mawata. It's the Department of Agriculture. They have just past the city hospitals. It's they just turned on a left there. There is a center there. The young boys from the university also run it. They help manage it, or just outside or just after university. The plants are good quality, good plants from fruiting trees to vegetable stuff, and they also have the compost and the potting mix there to buy. You can also try. You can also try Water's Edge. They have some good and all these plants are nothing more than $100 or 50 rupees or 75 rupees for a plant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's actually true. I have actually bought from Water's Edge, and I think it's just some plants are there for 75 rupees. I was very surprised when I went to do some shopping there as well. So yeah.
The only problem at Water's Edge is the parking. If you are driving your own vehicle, it's going to be a nightmare. So going to Tuk, or as Kate
Yes.
said, yeah, Kate, your answer is my answer as well. The Department of Agriculture, they have amazing and good stuff and at reasonable prices also. Very good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. And Terry Emmanuel says, guys, I have a major issue in my garden, rat. And it looks like a pretty big rat because there's like a massive image attached to it. But what can we do with rats in the garden?
You can try frying them. Roasting is also good. But
no, you can actually you can slow cook. You can slow cook them in garlic sauce. With the lime sprinkled on it.
Well, I
get serious.
I know.
I am vegetarian. Sorry, I'm gonna say this.
The rats are an issue. Rats are an issue, but you also understand that they are first and foremost they are called garden rats. So thank God that they remain in the garden and don't come into your house. That's the first thing you give thanks for. Secondly is you have come there and you have built your house on what used to be their home. Right? So you can try the human way of catching them, which I know you do. Catch them in a cage and then go and release them somewhere, preferably not in the neighbor's garden. But that could be the human way of getting rid of it.
Okay.
But
Kate, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there for a second because I just saw the second part of her question and it's my bad. I didn't see it before. She's also adding to it in a different message. They are apparently burrowing underground and eating the roots of everything. What green solution do you advocate? That's the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's a problem I have too. They are quite a nuisance. They do burrow. And I have found that not just the rats, I have a problem with the kadias as well.
Okay.
Right? The black ants love to go and nest in this loosely turned over earth. And when they go down there, they kind of attack the roots and sometimes part of the tree die.
Okay.
But I have taken a kind of fatalistic viewpoint in the whole thing because you can never get rid of the rats completely unless you resort to applying rat poison or something like that, which is going to hurt you in the long run. They'll probably go into your ceiling and die. So my thing is, you can try spraying something like maybe my mother-in-law has a trick. She always uses kerosene for everything. If the Garandia comes, she sprays kerosene.
It works sometimes.
Talagoya comes, she sprays kerosene. She freaks out on those kind of animals. But it's all very temporary. 2, 3, 4 days later, they're back. So...
See, my take on that is those guys need to live in the earth, burrow down, and that is their ecosystem. That's not our ecosystem. So we can still go to a Kade or to the Polar or to any of these posh supermarkets and buy all our organic produce. And we will not die. But those guys, that would be their space. So in as much as you enjoy your gardening, wonderful. If they are there and if you don't want to kill them, which I think I would not do, let them be. Try these methods that keep us saying, but if otherwise, just let them be, because that's all that they have. We have a Kade, we've got a supermarket. They don't have that.
Yeah, true. And I suppose it's all about coexistence. If anything,
our livelihood does not depend on our garden produce. So farmers, yes, but us no. So let them be.
True. Okay. There is another question from Taruka Disanaika and asking, what's a simple compost recipe?
Okay.
Either one of you do any compost?
Kit does it.
Yeah, what we do is we have those little green barrels that you get at Apico. You just fill up with all the leaves from the garden. But I understand if by some chance you're talking from a point of view of an apartment where you don't have the fallen leaves, then stuff like even see the problem with our indul, our cooking produce, is that sometimes can be a little pungent. Right? So you can't. They generally to avoid putting the cooking refuse into those compost pits. But in the good old days, it was just pure leaves filled up with a little bit of earth, You put in a bit of, you just keep on layering leaves and earth, and then you find that whole process
And you got to
convert into
turn it
compost.
and turn it off.
Exactly. And you will find all kinds of stuff like maggots and stuff, which is also helping to break
And
down the whole thing.
I'm saying this without any shame or inhibition. So if you are doing your own compost pit in a ground garden or in a pot on a balcony, it needs urea, okay? And urea is urine, and urine is what we put out, okay? All of us. So a bit of that also, I suppose, every other day, turn around. It helps to decompose, and it adds nitrogen and value to your compost. So
Okay. All right. On that note, actually, there is something else that I've noticed, and I've also done this a couple of times. It's worked sometimes, it hasn't sometimes. You have the fertilizers which you can buy from shops, the little purple pellets, green pellets, blue pellets, and all that stuff. Do the both of you actually buy those fertilizers, or would you say relying more on organic stuff, like you're making your own compost, is a better option?
I would say 100% organic. Those
Organic.
blue, I think now the government has stopped those little blue tablets, correct,
Yes.
Kumar?
Yes. Yeah.
really, I never had faith in the pellets. Never.
I was, you don't know what, all
What to use
those
there.
kind of colored things, you don't know what it is, So just stay away from it. Ultimately that goes into the tree. It comes out in the bell pepper, which you're going to put in your mouth, So why do you want the risk? I would say.
But I must admit that I use a thing called Albert solution. It is not very cheap. It is also used for hydroponics, for hydro water gardening. You put it into a bucket, a spoon, and it helps a lot. So I balance the compost which I have in a pot, the rotting leaves, and this also, and it's a mix of both. So both basically work for me.
See, and it does work. I've seen people who have put that into their pots. That's where you get those full covered with flowers, the bougainvilleas and stuff like that. The 400 fruit on one little naran tree. All that comes from those kind of things. But that's artificially induced in something. So I really don't know how good or bad it would be in terms of consuming it. It looks good.
That is true.
So if you're doing the gardens at some place and you want all the flowers in bloom for the Nurelia flower show, then you might want to use it. But otherwise, I would say for your garden, no.
Okay.
So flowers, yes. Fruit and veg, no. Compromise.
Okay. Right. Okay. Jasanta Taz is saying, I would like to know about your opinion regarding bonsai plants. It looks beautiful, but I feel pity on those plants which are just kept in small pots. Even there are some banyan trees, coconut trees, etc. What would you have to say about that? How do you feel about bonsai?
I am not a fan of bonsai, so I shall.
Okay.
Actually, I am quite a fan of bonsai. I love bonsai.
Okay.
I have not tried it at all, but I know people who have tried it. I think it takes far too much of patience that I don't have to do bonsai. It's something. I see where Kumar is coming from, because it's a mutation of a plant. It's not like taking a thing and putting on those old baby shoes where you don't allow the feet to grow, kind of thing, So it could be something like that, but it looks pretty. It's like the Japanese garden. I personally can't stand the Japanese garden. I don't like that too much of order and regularity. I like chaos, So but I will still not go and kill the person who has a Japanese garden in his house. But it's not for me. It's not for me.
I think I have this problem too. My lawn is a little overgrown at the moment, but I kind of feel bad about pulling out like little grass plants that have been thriving there for so long. So now like my lawn is a little overgrown. But
see, if you take the lawn also, talk about butterflies. Now in my lawn, you have the what you call indupili, the small little grass.
Yes.
Now the indupili has a small purple flower if you look carefully.
Yes.
Right? And the butterfly called the psyche comes to that purple flower. So if you were to cut your lawn and take the indupili off completely, the poor butterfly doesn't have a place.
True.
So remember, when you have different types of, that's another thing I was going to talk about. If you want butterflies to come to your garden, it's very easy. just find out what plants attract the for larva, what plants are pollinators, and you'll find the butterflies coming. There is a thing called akapanna.
Yes.
Bakaman
This
is
is
no flower.
Bronchophilia, I
No, it's not a
suppose, right?
flower.
The one.
The little greenish little leaf, with serotonin.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I think
Yeah.
it's really good for kidney stones, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
they
and
say.
it's also
Right.
anti-cancer.
Okay.
It's also
Correct.
anti-cancer.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it attracts a little butterfly that come and lays eggs there, and you'll find the leaf getting black and like it got dead from inside. That means the butterfly has laid its eggs, the larva has come out, and you get what is called the red Pierrot butterfly. Beautiful little fellow. And that guy comes only for that plant. So I planted in my garden. Within about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we had the butterfly in the garden.
Okay. Keith, I also saw some lovely pictures of your garden with a lot of, actually like a whole host of wildlife there. Like bunches of birds and butterflies, and I think even monkeys and all. Like, do you actually like every single day do they come into your garden and you and your partner, like your wife, get
You
to?
mean apart from Keith? Okay.
Yeah, we had the purple faced leaf monkey, which is what we call an old world monkey.
Yeah.
And the poor fellow, there are 4 subspecies of the monkey in Sri Lanka, and we have what is called, we enjoy the western subspecies. Now that poor guy has been reduced to very, very small tracts of land of forest, because everywhere has been built up,
Right.
So we do have a bunch coming to our place. They do enjoy we have what is called like the Alfonso mango. We have 2 trees of the big mango, and we do have them come in. They share it with us. We take what is called the low hanging fruit, and they eat the one on the top. So there's a lovely balance. So we have monkeys, we have squirrels, we have all kinds of birds. Right? We have the talagoya, we have the kabaragoya comes in. We had what do you call those gooey buzzers, those little fellows in the drain, the little tortoises, turtles rather.
Ah, yes. Okay.
One of those guys also came into our garden.
Right.
I made the mistake of feeding him kangkong, and then I was told that he's not a veggie guy; he's a flesh-eating fellow.
Oh,
and he eats all the slugs and snakes.
I've also fed them kangkong. I've also thought they were vegetarian.
No, they don't eat. They are not vegetarian. They are very much a meat eater. So
okay, well.
And also try to have a bird bath. Anybody out there? Bird bath, even on a balcony, you can. They bathe, they drink, they bring food and put there to soften the food. They bring all bread and India up. I have India up inside that. And it's nice because you have these baby crows who are huge, fluffy fellows, and they're very gawky. They are very uncomfortable, and how they come and just slush around the wall. Beautiful to watch them. And they just empty the whole. So I need to actually refill the bird bath at least 4 times a day, because they one crow is all. It's a large spot. One crow is all gone. It's nice to watch them, and in this heat, we're actually helping them to cool off.
That's true.
Okay.
Definitely.
So Keith Kumar, we are kind of slowly running out of time, and we have quite a few more questions to answer. So I'm just gonna see which ones we can do right now. Shani has a couple of questions. Shani, I'm gonna see if we can answer both or just one. The first question is: any plants or herbs that work to keep flies and mosquitoes away?
You get a thing called Madhutala. Yeah, Madhutala is there. But we have a Madhutala plant in our garden. It doesn't work. The Madhuras come, right, and they sit on the Madhutala plant also and bite us. So I think Madhuras also have evolved.
Yes, exactly. They're immune. They're resistant. They've mutated. So these old-fashioned remedies don't quite work.
What do you guys think about Tangiri, the lime lemon leaf thing? Because citronella is supposed to keep them away, right?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for me either. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Mosquitoes are there. We had a lot of pineapple plants in our garden. Every time we had a pineapple, we broke the top and planted it, and actually we got about 3 fruit from the garden.
Okay.
Then we realized that the pineapple plants also collect water. So now we have uprooted all the pineapple plants and got rid of them. But see, water will collect anywhere. In a curled up leaf, you'll find water collecting, So especially these days, the rainy days. And that's all it requires. And within 24 hours, you've got your mosquito larva and your mosquitoes breeding.
Yes.
So there is, it's not very easy to get rid of them. So they will find a way. And
Yeah.
mosquitoes are very much part of our
Yeah.
whole setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I think with that, Keith, you've answered her second question where she has actually asked how to make sure water doesn't stagnate. But I think that like we'll have to do it actively on a daily basis. So I'm
yeah.
just gonna
So you
jump
have
to
to
her
go out
last.
empty pots. Yeah.
Yes. Her last question is about kabak soil, which I think is actually a good one, where she says she has kabak soil and what are the good plants that would grow there in the kabak soil?
The best for kabak is roses. It's
Okay.
fantastic for roses. But
Mm.
most of the earth in my garden, the little block I have is filled up earth, and that's all red earth, kabak earth. So
Okay.
it's a good earth for almost anything. I mean, here I've got mangoes. I've got the whole list of stuff from Verulu, from olives to mangoes
Mm.
to oranges to narangs to Jamaican
Mm.
cherries to the Barbados cherries to the Australian cherry to the guavas to
Yeah.
jumbos. Everything's there. It works for it.
Lovely. Kuma, are those the same plants you do with kabak soil, or do you have kabak soil at all in your garden?
On the balcony garden, no, I buy the compost and I make my own
Okay.
compost. So it's that general stuff that everyone has in those packets. But the good stuff,
Right.
you get nice. Your potting mixture has to be like coffee,
Mm.
black and aerated and good to the touch. Because don't get caught, you get a lot of cheap stuff around with too much of clay soil, too much of
Yeah.
sandy soil. So the balance is important. So always try to check it and buy the one that is good. Certainly, I think the Department of Agriculture, those places have got the good
Yeah.
stuff. So don't get
Very good
caught
stuff.
because otherwise your entire thing goes to the six.
Okay,
Correct.
lovely. We have just one more question, but I think you may have already given the answer. This is from Manadilani Daluatta, and she says that she has a slug problem. And how can she take care of it with, I mean, we've already spoken about snails and rats, but she's also asking, I suppose the slugs are eating her plants. I'm guessing that's a problem.
Mandy, just get a good gallibba. He will eat the slugs. Not a problem at all.
Or
You feed
sprinkle
another.
ash, right? You sprinkle ash.
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
Leaf ash, leaf ash.
Leaf ash.
Or salt,
Okay.
or salt. Just
Salt
Lulu
will
Kata.
kill it. Salt will
Lulu
kill it.
Kata also, yeah.
Yeah.
So keep
Right.
it in the path so it knows to go
Yes,
away,
it
and
won't come that way. Yeah. That's right.
you don't you
Yeah.
push it away from your house
Yeah.
garden.
Okay. All right. So since we're kind of drawing up to the end of our time, I'm gonna ask the both of you something that I think is a lot important, I suppose, to my generation. Because we spoke about this briefly before, but I would like it and I would appreciate it if the both of you can go into a little bit of detail about it. For me and my generation, the coming on of this pandemic has been something that's been really challenging. There are a lot of our careers and our mental health, everything, because our social interactions have been quite limited. But for me as a person, I found solace in gardening, even though it's a tiny little garden patch. And I know the both of you also, like we discussed before, you found peace in it. Why do you think that gardening helps your mental health and your emotional well-being? How do you think you can use gardening to sort of better your mental health?
See, gardening in the first place teaches you patience, right? Contrary to what Asterix told us in those books where he threw the magic seed and the tree came out automatically, it takes time for things to grow. I stuck a Murunga stalk into the ground, a stick. I stuck 4 sticks. 3 died. One, after about 2 weeks, we had 2 small little leaves coming out. Today, it's a tree which is about 6 feet tall. Okay, within about, I would say, maximum 6 months. So things do grow, and you see a lot of joy in something coming out. When your first fruit comes, you get a lot of joy. You know, when the thing pops out of the ground from you put in a little yogurt cup and you plant the seed. Then when the plant comes out, you get a lot of joy. Right? So in that, you learn to slow things down. We are so used to wanting everything instantly, wanting everything to happen today, tomorrow. We don't have patience. You know, like Kuma would agree. In the good old days, we didn't have emails and stuff like that. We had telexes, right, or airmail letters. So you type a letter.
The phone
send it.
call was the call you booked a trunk call. You couldn't call
Okay.
Candy. You booked
Yeah.
the call, wait for 2 hours, and then the call comes through. So it was
Correct.
so much of patience that we had.
So with all that, today what has happened is we want things happening so fast, we don't have patience. This will actually teach you to take things easy. It will also tell you that, it will also show you that things don't always work out the way you plan things. You grow, you put down 10 seeds, only 2 come out. Right? Once that 2 come out, one only gets into a big healthy plant. Only that one gives you fruit. Then the fruit is eaten by some other animal. Right? You learn defeat that way. Right? You learn to share. All good aspects of life, which we tend to forget. In this whole mad rush to get where we are going, and suddenly you realize once you got there also, what have you achieved? What have you got in the end? So gardening is something that gives you a lot of peace and patience. You can also take a small sighting. Most of our smartphones today give you a lot of depth in your photography. You take a picture of a caterpillar on a tree and blow him up. Look at him closely and see what it looks like in a macro situation. Take the inside of a flower and suddenly see the detail in a flower. You learn to appreciate a lot of things around you. Long time ago, I said I got into birding quite late in my life. To me, all birds are the same. I could hardly recognize any bird. But today, you see so much of difference in each little detail. And you start to kind of opening your eyes to what's around you. Otherwise, it's a matter of putting on your trousers, shirt, get into work, come back. There is no fulfillment in your day.
And the mobile phone. Our lives are inside our mobile phones and our laptops, but there's a whole world beyond that. My answer is Keith's answer, carbon copy.
Okay. Anything you want to add to it?
So start gardening today. Ground gardening, terrace gardening. We spoke a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Start it, and you'll find the joy of all those experiences that we shared. Keith and
Okay. All right. So I think we're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you very much, Kumar and Keith, for joining us today on the Sunday morning brunch and for sharing all of your insight and knowledge and experience about gardening. It's been truly invaluable, and I'm sure everyone who joined us also found a lot of information and knowledge from it. And to all of you who joined our live session, thank you very much. Thanks for sending your questions, and we will see you soon again. I hope the both of you have a lovely rest of the night and stay safe and healthy and happy gardening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks
for having us.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
All right. Okay. Good night then. Bye bye.
Carbon copy of what Kumar said.
All right. Okay. All right. Good night, both of you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.